Hello everyone and welcome back to Environment with M. As you can see, I've changed my background a little bit. Last time when I did like the trailer one, I had a nice ocean background because I was in Italy then. And now I'm instead in India, which I will talk more about in what I think will be my next video, my introduction video, because I think we'll need one. But first, I think we need to start with something really important when it comes to environmental issues. So today we're going to talk about climate change, and you've probably heard climate change many times before. It's a very common term used in scientific reports and also a very common term in media at the moment, and that's because you could say that climate change is our time biggest environmental issue. And yeah, we'll talk about other earlier environmental issues that has been important through the history. But so today, climate change. It's not that simple, really, climate change. It's a very, very complex issue, and that's why it's very important to start now from the bottom and to make it all very clear. So first, we need to make clear what's the difference between climate and weather. Because you probably heard people say, oh, this summer has been so hot, climate change is for real. Or, oh, this winter was really cold. There's no such thing as climate change.
And by the way, it's supposed to be 70 degrees today. It's freezing here. Speaking of global warming, we need some global warming.
Yeah, and that's not quite true. And you know why? Because that's a description of the weather. So what's the difference between weather and climate? Weather is daily variations of temperature and moisture, blah blah blah, all that. That can vary over days. And the thing with weather is that it will change. You won't have like exactly the same weather every 4th of July. Instead, climate means a period of 30 years at least with normal variations. So for it to count as climate change, there must have been many observations showing that the temperature is higher now than compared for 30 years ago, how it was then, or like the weather is getting more extreme. So it's more about long-term observation. To say that one summer 30 years ago usually would have one storm a summer, but now 30 years later you have 10 storms of that type every summer. Then you can change. Yeah, the climate seems to have changed. Yeah, so now I think when that's pretty clear, we'll move forward. Yeah, so now we need to understand the basics of how our climate works. So basically, the reason why we get the temperature we got here at our planet is because we get solar radiation coming from the sun, and it's hitting the atmosphere, where some of it will be reflected just from the atmosphere surface, and some of it will go through the atmosphere and down to the surface. And there it will get absorbed by the ocean, land, and that will heat up the surface. But then the surface itself will emit radiation, and this form will be infrared radiation. So that's like the lowest form of energy, which is heat. It will leave the surface and move towards space. Now we will talk about the greenhouse effect, which is very important to understand how climate change works. So what happens now, if we didn't have this greenhouse effect, then the heat from the surface would just go straight out in space, and it would be very, very cold here. But we are very lucky here because we got the greenhouse effect, which works like a greenhouse. So there are some different gases, and you've probably heard of carbon dioxide, that has something to do with climate change. Carbon dioxide is something that we have been emitting since the Industrial Revolution, and we get emissions from everything we do in the modern life. So from energy production, from transportation with cars and planes and everything you can think of basically emits carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas. So what carbon dioxide does with some other gases like methane and also water vapor is that it's like a big blanket. It keeps the planet warm because when the radiation from the surface is rising up towards space, these gases will absorb the heat and then send it away in many directions, and a lot of it will go back down to Earth. So that means instead of letting the heat out, you will keep it within the atmosphere, and that makes it very much more comfortable for us living here. But what is happening now is that we have increased the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and mainly carbon dioxide, which means that there are more of these gases out there that can absorb the heat and return it back to surface. And that's why the temperature is rising. So I hope that it got a little bit more clear why the temperature is rising. You might think that the temperature rising is pretty good. I'm from Sweden, a really cold country. So having a few degrees higher temperature in the summer, a bit warmer winters, sounds pretty nice. But the problem is that the Earth is like a big ecosystem, and it's very, very complex, and everything is connected. So changing the temperature a little bit will lead to a lot of other issues. Some examples are sea level rise, which means that coast cities might be flooded, and more extreme weather like flooding and droughts, and we will get into that later on. But just stay with that explanation of what climate change is for now, and we will get more into it. And like I said in my next video, I want to do kind of an introduction of who I am, but then a following up video to this one is gonna be about the more fun part of this channel, or like positive side of it, which is to talk about what you can do about it. How can I reduce my impact on the climate? What can I do about it? Yeah, so that will be all fun. So please hit subscribe if you like this, and see you in my next video. Bye!